Hello, everyone, and welcome to Titan Esports. This is going to be week number 4, and today we have something different. Lamb's not going to be on the cast today. Instead, we have here Jolly. Everyone, welcome Jolly to the desk. Jolly, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm excited to cast some League of Legends. It's been a minute for me, and I have been going through withdrawals, so this is going to give me the fix that I need.
All right. Yeah, casting League is highly addictive, so I understand you're going to need that quick fix. But today, we have ourselves an interesting team standings, 2-1 for each of these teams here, Jolly. So I know I'm just giving you a little introduction here. Both these teams are 2-1, and guess what? They're one away from that top position in their group here. So this is going to be deciding who is number 2. And for your first cast in Titan, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I know. I've been told by everybody on the back end, man, people are missing out by not being part of this broadcast because it's very exciting. You got the 2-1, a tied up series, and it is fighting for a pretty definite second place, right? We do have first place essentially locked in here. Let's take a look at our standings because you've got EDE, Emotional Damage Energy, that has been sitting at 3-0. They were taken down a couple of times though, so something that Basement Dwellers has the opportunity to face here is a rematch against Emotional Damage Energy because they actually did play against them earlier and they did take them to a full 3-game series. So they performed quite well. It was just a little bit too strong in terms of the later game damage from Emotional Damage Energy. So there's even more to fight for within this battle as opposed to just second place. There's the potential for a rematch.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be itching for a rematch against Emotional Damage. I don't know if you've seen, but they definitely like to yap after they win some games here. If you see them in the chat, they're definitely chatting it up. And they are the top team to beat for now. They did win that invitational. We keep harping on it because it was showing off everyone, and they came up on top, and they're still at the top of the standings. I think Dorado on the other side of the group, making it interesting. They're just both the top teams in both of these groups here, and they had a very interesting invitational final. So it's looking like that invitational is really setting the tone for the rest of these games in the league here. And now we're going to see how the middle of this pack stands out. So Elysium, they have also that 2-1, and they have been doing great in their games overall. Both of them dropped that single series here. Unfortunate for both of them. But I think that for these teams, I mean, there's that really tight middle of the pack. So this is going to really determine who stands out. And I think that for now, this is probably a high stakes game, and it might just be a close game as well.
That's the hope. I mean, we always hope the closer we get to those top spots.
I think we finally have got the teams. You know that gamer time, Jolly. Everyone takes their time getting into the lobby. Yep. And, we're gamers. We'll eventually show up.
Oh, yeah, we do. And we're hoping that this is going to be a close series, right? I mean, that's the idea behind this, is that we need some high-action games to knock out the potentially third place or drop down somebody into that third place spot pretty efficiently. So sounds like we're finally prepping draft, and this is the most exciting part aside from actually getting into the game.
Yeah, and there we go. As soon as you said magic words, have unlocked the draft here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and look over. I'm thinking we might see a Maokai ban. If not, going to be picked up. This champion has completely warped the meta. And for the side of Elysium, they do have a Maokai player. They also play that very powerful Udyr. So either way, I think they're going to be getting a strong pick on their side here. And not to mention, Battle Gnome on the other side, and BDE is a Rek'Sai OTP, so that's going to go ahead and be taken away very quickly.
That's always smart. You never let OTP slide through. The Lulu was also devastating before for BDE, so that's a solid pickup because it actually ended up taking them down previously when they were going up against that top team. And I do want to confirm actually the first ban coming through from Elysium Blaze. We have it grayed out. I'm not sure if that was a misban or what's going on with that one, but the Maokai and the Ziggs, two very strong ones. And I would say Elysium Blaze has been focusing a lot on trying to run these like the tanky, heavy damage champions. So you're talking about the Maokai, you've got the Jax that they've been pulling out. You've got the Amumu that they've also been running with recently here. So it's going to be a Vi lock-in for them first. BDE focusing on that bottom lane.
This Vi is so strong in the meta for that pick style, so they're going to need to pair it up with some other pick champions. Caitlyn being taken out is one of those combos with Vi here. So we'll see if that's going to prove to be part of their strategy here. They're going to take away the Karma. Jolly Karma with this Caitlyn is so strong. She does have other compadres in the bot lane, notably the Lux. So we'll see if they're going to go for that more meta, but I have a feeling that they might be picking something else a little bit different in this support role. They have more engage style or the Ashe, I think. Yeah, there's the engage
It's almost like I kind of know what I'm talking about, even though I don't really. There's the Amumu hover, and it is going to be locked in. That's likely heading towards the top as we've seen it in the past year. But you're right, as I'm sitting here out of focus, the Caitlyn has a lot of really good matchups. She's incredibly strong right now. And when you factor in some of the tanks, if that's the way that Elysium wants to go, they can focus more on, Nautilus, who got the recent buffs. Thresh is still also very devastating. But at the end of the day, based on that Amumu pick, I'm going to assume that they're focusing on a little bit more of the damage, the enchantresses, the sorcerer side of things.
Okay, yeah, it's weird because this is a bit of a double flex, and I'm not going to count Amumu out of the jungle here because it's a very similar champion to Maokai, and Udyr even has similar builds. So maybe they've been scrimming it, and this is a bit of a trick flex pick here. I know the Zilean is definitely going to be flexed around. You definitely want to make sure this champion doesn't get blown up, whether that's the bot lane or the mid lane. So threading that flex is going to save the Zilean some heartache, whoever plays it here. And there it is, Karma Ezreal. This is a duo that is well known, well established for a very long time, has extensive amounts of poke and escape. So they're going to be using Vi Karma Ezreal here. Not the best pick combo in the world, Jolly, but definitely has some potency in escape.
Yeah, I mean, potency in escape as well as potency on initiation and engage, right? But then on the other side, for Elysium Blaze, you can also consider they have a lot of the same kind of basics, right? You have the Amumu for that full initiation if you really want, but you also have the long range poke and some pretty good CC that you could layer down onto them if you do need to escape or if you want to fully invest in that fight. So I think both of these teams, as of right now, as we get into the second ban phase, or as we round out the second ban phase here with some more tanks and top laner damage being taken away, it seems like a pretty consistent win condition here for both of these teams, which is try to get a solid laning phase, try to get as much as you possibly can from that, and then when the time comes, it is all in on team fights around these objectives.
Yeah, that is basically the meta. You just spelt it out right there for everyone. Sion been cropping up, and Cho'Gath as well. That's why we see that ban there. So a lot of tanky boys are not going to be on the Rift here. Sion is one of the ones that's going to make it through. And so, I mean, those big team fights come from these picks like the Sion here. And all the counters have been pretty much taken out here. I think Fiora, Camille are excellent into the Sion. They're going to go ahead and layer up the Jax. Not exactly a winning matchup. So they're going to be sacrificing a little bit of that Jax early game phase. And now they're just going to hope to clear it up on the side lane here versus the Sion. Very interesting because They kind of were going for this Amumu Zilean teamfight comp, and I think Sion gave them a bit of trouble when they pivoted to this Jax here.
Yeah, it forces them essentially to now completely focus on the late game. That Sion really cut off their opportunity to make some early game engages and pushes, and now that you have Sion there where you have to anticipate a really strong team fight on the counter as well, you have to be really, really careful in the early parts of this game because the last thing you want is to get a jacked up Sion who's able to ult down into the mid lane or ult down towards objectives at any point later on. I do like that Taliyah, they're adding a bit more of, the mobility, momentum, a lot more escapability as well, and the opportunity to maybe cut off the opponents. But if BDE is able to start this game out hot and heavy and get some early kills, it's going to be really hard to slow them down.
Okay, LeBlanc being picked in Taliyah. That does offer a lot of early game aggression. However, Taliyah does have counters to the dashes of the LeBlanc. Gotta be careful there in that mid lane. We have both of our comps here, and BDE, I think both of these teams, I'm not a big fan of either of their comps, to be honest. There's no clear identity so far. BDE have somewhat of a team fight comp, but then they have the Ezreal and the LeBlanc. These are high mobility carries, but they're not exactly something that's going to steamroll through a team fight. That being said, on the side of Elysium, they don't have a solid tank. They have Jax and Amumu. They have the Zilean to revive one of those, but typically you pair the Zilean with something that scales hard late game, does a lot of damage like the Zeri. They don't really have that in this case. They're going to try to play the map, I assume. They're going to try to get that Caitlyn Zilean control with the Taliyah roaming bot side. but this is not exactly like we're going to stomp bot lane kind of bot lane with the Zillion. It's more of scaling. So I think both of these teams have some mixed identities. I think I give BDE the team fight because Sion's just such a huge team fight factor. But other than that, like both of these teams are so like well-rounded that they don't excel at anything.
You know, I gotta disagree with you on that one. I think in terms of the team fight, as long as BDE doesn't roll over Elysium, I think they have the upper hand just based on the layering of crowd control, whereas BDE has really good pick potential. You've got the Vi, you've got the Ezreal, right? You've got a lot of this damage that can find out solo individuals, and then the Sion is gonna be really good when it comes to the team fight stage, but with Elysium Blaze, if they really want to layer down all that CC, they can even throw the trap on top of the tantrum, you know, get the Jax to go in there as well, throw the double bombs down from Zillion. So there's a good opportunity for them in the team fight stage. It's just if BDE has this early damage that I can anticipate this bottom lane easily rolling in their favor, a Karma and an Ezreal up against the Zillion Caitlyn, is they're going to be able to get a lot of lane pressure and a lot of priority here. So that's going to be the game. And it's, you know, you bring up the other side of it too, because where I said earlier, Elysium Blaze is looking at waiting. This is a stalled out game. They have to try to stay alive in the top side and in the bottom side and wait towards that scaling. But the problem is you're absolutely right, and there's no real cohesion in terms of the scaling and how they can really apply that into the late game when they get to those team fight stages and how they're going to be able to break apart BDE. But we'll have to see, because both of these teams have the same scoreline, right? Both of them have found a lot of success and have found some falters and some failures in the past here. So I like to put the trust in them and, you know, wait until the game really plays out before I really speculate on what's going to go down here.
Yeah, you could speculate all day, even if your speculation is correct, and the team just plays it completely differently. I think we've all been there as casters. I do like that LeBlanc Vi point out that you had. They do have that pick potential, and that means that Caitlyn and Talia and Zillion have to be careful here. And of course, Ezreal can always just add some extra damage from long range. I think Elysium Blaze's best opportunity is actually that Jax in the side lane. If they get the Jax in a really good position, they can use that power on the side lanes here against the Sion. If Sion's winning in that side lane, I think Elysium's going to have a really tough time pulling this game together, because the Zillion, as you also pointed out, just does not have that much value. Who are you going to ult that's really going to turn around a team fight and or a skirmish scenario? It's not really a clear target. So I think that we've kind of laid out here for both teams. It's a bit of weird comp from my opinion. I think both of these teams have like one or two strengths. I don't think that it's clear how any of these teams are going to play out. Elysium, though, if they get on a position first, Caitlyn, Amumu, Zillion is so strong into what BDE have. So I think that's where I'm going to be turning out my last comment here. I'm going to let Jolly finish it off. But yeah, Elysium, if you get on these objectives, I think you have a strong point in this game.
Yeah, if they get on the objectives, and you know what, if Elysium is able to, like I said, just find some of those solo picks in the early parts of the game, the other side of it too is it's going to be a lot easier for them with the front line that they have and the engagement that they have to actually focus on these objectives, and not just that, but counter objectives. So what I want to see out of Basement Dwellers is I need to see an early invade. I need to see, you guys should absolutely be hauling butt 5 members into the enemy jungle, trying to find a pick there, or trying to get an advantage in terms of the jungle. Because if you can set Vi back even just a little bit here, you buy so much time for yourself within these lanes, as well as being able to try to keep an eye on this Vi because of the heavy pick potential they have. So you have to try to take advantage of it early on, but you need to be really careful about it. And that's what I'm going to be looking out of from Basement Dwellers, just trying to keep an eye on this Vi, constantly pinging out where she is, watching where she's roaming, and ensuring that this Talia, you know, doesn't get scared, does not get jumped on without an opportunity for the Amumu to respond.
Yeah, that is going to be their MO. They're going to have to use that burst damage. All right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to kick it to about a 2-minute delay. Don't go anywhere. Probably just get a drink and come right back for Titan Esports week number 4, Elysium Blaze versus Basement Dwellers. We're going to have a game on your hands very soon. All right, everyone, welcome back. Game number 1 is starting, and we have Elysium Blaze on the blue side versus Basement Dwellers on the red side here. A little bit of action getting started up here early, Jolly, but it is a standard 5-point start.
Oh, they lied to us. So it's Elysium on the blue side, and it's Basement Dwellers on the red side. That means I have to adjust my notes, but already we are kicking off to some action here. Knack is going to be able to avoid a lot of the damage coming through. You got a Mandolin as well on the backside to try to provide a little bit more pressure here. But hey, you know what? I wanted an engage from Elysium Blaze, and they kind of gave it to me.
I mean, if you wanted them to really start early level 1, okay. Well, they definitely failed on that one because they don't have the guts that you were talking about here. I mean, Amumu, level 1 jungler, is extremely powerful. It's one of those, like Braum is also very strong level 1. It's one of those kind of things. As we have, they are playing aggressively at least, as they're really trying to give BDE a hard time before they even hit lane. And Caitlyn lane not leashing or fake leashing. Crim's approved.
Yeah, and I mean, not even trying to hide that fact either, that there is no
I think it should be very obvious. No one should really try to hide it anymore.
I mean, I feel like if you're going to take that strategy, you might as well try to get something from it, because look at this Bean chilling already at half health. Nick Lowles is able to get quite a bit off here onto control ult elite in the top side, but it is already very, very chaotic here. Lots of poking happening between these two teams, and of course, no big surprise that in terms of that damage, JL has the upper hand.
Yeah, JL has the range. It's single target, though. Has to play a little bit more carefully, but that's where the karma comes in. AoE poke damage makes that a lot easier. They don't get the first push, so that's going to mean the lane is a lot easier for the Zillion. There's a lot off his shoulders here. Knack going to get pushed in by this Talia, but should be able to make those trades level 3, as Idress is taking a losing trade with Beat Chillin'. And now, I mean, they're sub 50, so they were at 50, now they're below.
And it's gone back and forth, the pots have been used. Actually, there's still some pots and there's still some biscuits in the pockets of both of these players.
Mid lane?
Good engages here. Mid lane is going to get jumped on. You're right there. That red buff was picked up, but Talia is aware she's going to burn her flash and get out alive.
And that didn't let us see the end of that, but we could see on the map that Battle Gnome has turned tail. Is cowardice in the face of a Talia gank. Just kidding. We have the Chihuahua, though. This is going to be... I mean, that's that aggression you're talking about. With a name like Chihuahua, I think we can expect a lot of bark. Maybe not so much bite, though.
Hey, you know what? The smallest ones have the biggest bite. That is what I have come to find. So we'll have to see if these are tiers enough to take down the side of BDE. We've got some vision coming down there, so we know that Battle Gnome, or at least Elysium Blaze, knows that Battle Gnome is towards that Scuttle Crab and on the side of the dragon that's been picked up. Throw a little bit more vision over there thanks to Chihuahua, and that's some good awareness coming out of Elysium Blaze on where that jungle is, which is exactly what I was looking for. Chihuahua, a nice little attempt here, taking a little too much damage though from Knack, and that is a failed gank.
It was like a few pixels away from a beautiful gank, and then it turned disastrous as you get a minion. Gonna be giving away the second scuttle. It looks like that's actually terrible for Amumu. Did get the full clear, but the scuttle difference is gonna make up for Battle Gnome. So that misplay of a gank does lead to extra, negative effects down the line, butterfly effect, as you were. Mandolin has a great angle, and now the wave... Oh, they could have bounced it back, but I think they... Okay, there it is. The bounce back is confirmed, and now Idress and Bean Chillin', they're in a bad spot.
We got a lot of roam coming through as well from BDE. We can see Battle Gnome, Knack are making their way up. Control Ult Elite jumping down, and that was that scuttle we were talking about. They've got some really solid vision as well to ensure that this Amumu can't really make a solid move onto Control Ult Elite. Maybe now Battle Gnome looking for somewhere to invade, but the pings are coming out from Elysium Blaze that there is, in fact, still a Vi in the wings. And there we take a look at that vision. Very, very well placed here. Again, BDE really ensuring that this top side of the map is theirs and theirs alone.
Kill switch, a little slow on the knockback there, but is got the fast fingers on those stones for the stun. Kind of just wish we complete the combo. That would make a killer trade onto Knack here. All right, Vi, Battle Gnome in the mid lane again. A lot of attention.
Ooh.
Wow, that was just completely neutralized. That gank, again, Battle Gnome just going for a gank. and is not able to. So they're trying to lay down so much pressure mid lane, but it's just being completely neutralized by Kill Switch here. And Nagnak is going to be low mana, and that's going to give Taliyah a very good back as well. So Kill Switch, I mean, it's not showing much up on the scoreboard, but I think so far is doing an excellent job in this early game.
Absolutely, especially with the control that was held up there towards the top side, like I was talking about, where BDE says, all right, this is our region for us to take control of. The good recognition by Killswitch to say, all right, let me place this ward in a very secure manner. We know Battle Gnome is towards the top side here and is not on the bottom side of the map, and has been focusing really there along with the river, as we can see her make a move on to this dragon. It's going to be the first dragon of the game, the first one for them here. And no response so far from Elysium Blue. In fact, no pings recognizing that this objective is being taken.
Yeah, so that bad lane state is now going to be leveraged into this dragon here. And Caitlyn lane losing the dragon, especially first dragon as well, is such a boon for this Ezreal Karma lane. That's exactly how they want, like, that's exactly the opposite of what Elysium Blaze wants to happen here. You pick the Caitlyn for the dragon control, and you don't even get first dragon. So far, their game plan, at least for what I would expect their game plan to be, doesn't look like it's working out for me.
Not too great, but you know what? That saving grace that you had been talking about, Crims, in the Jax for Nick Loles, he's doing quite well. He's been pretty oppressive to control ult elite, and this was one of those that we were saying it could really go either way. So we've got a pretty decent CS lead in terms of Nick having that, and also having a lot of really good aggression. So if we can get to an early team fight stage, there is still a big chance for Elysium Blaze, but they can't let another objective like that just go handily over to BDE.
It looks like they are kind of hunting for this Rift Herald here, as Control Delete been losing, has pretty much no pressure in the face of Nick Loles. I mean, he just pretty much is going up there, wailing away at Sion whenever he can, no fear. And it looks like they're not expecting any kind of assistance for the Sion. They're leaving him alone on this island, and he's taking a bruise in here, being chilling. Oh, here we go.
All right. Killswitch just came in on the wrong side of that. That was very unfortunate. It completely cut off the initiation that Elysium Blaze would have had. BDE says, thank you very much. Taliyah ult down, everyone.
Yeah, so, okay, so you know how we were talking about that Rift Herald potentially being Elysium Blaze? Well, thanks to that Taliyah play, they're going to completely give over the Rift Herald as well, despite the losing top lane. 2 versus 3 ain't gonna make that happen. So they lose both objectives on both sides. I don't even know what they're gonna do anymore.
Oh, there's some solid damage coming through, but it's going to be first blood thanks to the Barrage. Al says, hey, you know what? I can still poke some more damage. I still have my support here with me, and we have the minion push coming through. It's just autos. Idris trying to utilize these minions to stop. The flash is necessary to get away from that binding to ensure that Karma doesn't get the lockdown. In the meantime, Nick Loles get a lot of damage off here onto Control to lead. He's not going to be able to secure the kill, but provides a lot for the lane. Chihuahua now making his way down. Probably doesn't have an opportunity, though, thanks to the solid vision that BDE has placed for themselves.
Yeah, Control Alt Delete, though, is dangerously close to dive health, despite being a Scion. I know he gets that big shield based off his health there, but it looks like Nick Loles is just going to be playing too aggressively here. Oh, Battle Gnome. Okay, doesn't go for it.
They really can't. Control Delete, unfortunately, just way too low down. Battle Gnome showed his face a little bit too early there. Might have been able to make a play off of that one had he been a bit more patient.
Yeah, just not really good fisherman there on the side of Battle Gnome. Just pulled on the line a little too early and alerted that fish to the danger here. But overall, I mean, we can just look. I know the gold lead is small, but I just think in terms of objectives and what has occurred on the map so far, huge wins for Basement Dweller. Of course, they have that L in the Scion, but man, he could just play that scaling lane front line for his team, and he's going to be all good to go to providing for his team.
Absolutely. And in terms of, CS across the board, right, you do have a bit of a sway in the mid lane as well. So maybe making up for that a little bit with Knack. Battle Gnome has tried so many times to find a successful gank, and so far has not been able to, but has at least initiated in these lanes and made some pressure, allowing for a little bit for the laners more so than I would say Chihuahua has been able to do. But that's part of the Amumu, right? You have to grind this one out. You have to wait for the scaling to occur. And luckily, for most of Elysium Blaze, they've been more than capable of pushing back BDE. In fact, only one member has died, of course.
Zillion is level 6 here, so talk about early skirmishes. They can utilize this to win with 3v3 here. It's looking like both teams are set up for it. Who's going to pull the trigger first, though? That is going to be the big question. If Vi goes in first and Amumu has a great turnaround, I think Elysium Blaze, they can pick up their first big win on the map here.
I'd like to see it.
Oh,
I'd like to see a big win in general. Battle Gnome going in. Out comes the ultimate. It will be the Zillion ult for himself there. The root down below. Another big stun onto Battle Gnome, and it might be too much damage coming out of Elysium Blaze. Out comes the barrage, and in comes Knack, who's able to pick up the 1 kill on Idris. That might be all that BDE is able to get, but it is still a successful fight for them. Ooh,
Knack roams first, despite the Talia in the opposing side of that lane, and makes a huge difference in that 3v3 skirmish, because it wasn't actually a 3v3 Jolly, it was a 4v3, and they're going to go ahead and win that. Use that Rift Herald, pick up plates for that Ezreal, who's doing excellently. Jail has a kill and assist, but not only that, now has started evening up the farm. They don't go for the dragon, they don't pull the trigger just quite yet, but they can just reset and pick that up nice, calmly, don't have to risk anything. And so far, Basement Dwellers, I think they're getting everything they want.
Yep. This is something we talked about. You know, I was looking for the early pressure coming out of Elysium Blaze to allow them to really roll into this late game like we were talking about. And I'd also discussed how you brought up that saving grace in Nick, and it's looking really good. He's 30 CS up, he's feeling good, but he hasn't been able to pick up kills, and he hasn't been able to roam with what he's got. And so because of that, BDE still, like you said, are getting what they want here, because all they need is just the opportunity to shut down this Jax a little bit later on, prevent Caitlyn from getting as far forward as she wants to. We know Bean Chillin is going to fall off. It's just not looking great as time goes on for Elysium Blaze here.
Yeah, Elysium Blaze, they need to make something happen soon. Their strongest lane is, right now, that Jax lane on Nichols. Has the cold start as well, almost going to finish it up. So they have an opportunity to super juice this Jax, probably get some plays from, and that's going to set their side lane up because, I mean, no other laning's winning right now. Mid lane got out-roamed despite being a Talia, is also a bit behind in CS. Bot lane is just getting shoved in by an Ezreal Karma lane, and now they're going to start getting dove on repeat. It might be happening right now.
In comes the teleport, though. Knack and Battle Gnome trying to break away from this one.
That's the Jax TP. Oh, no. They don't get anything off that.
They don't, and that's the first opportunity he's had to get the TP. OP kill switch now moving on. Knack, Battle Gnome, and a Mandolin are in the wings, though. Knack trying to navigate them around to their side. Oh my god, beautiful vision ward right there by Chihuahua to knock out 2 other wards, but how long will it last? And what will it gain them? We're not sure, because in terms of objectives, everything's gone over to BDE.
Oh, we were just talking up Nichols, and now after this TP, that's going to be CS down the drain and 2 plates over to the Scion. JL playing aggressive.
He prevented the engage, though. I will say that. Out comes the tantrum from Chihuahua. That is a lot of crowd control onto Jail, who's going to end up going down. The flash coming through from a Mandolin. Battle Gnome is in the wings, and they're able to speed themselves up, but it will be enough time for Elysium Blaze to get away. Yeah, it sucks that Jax, you know, used the TP and lost a bit in the top lane, but he prevented that bottom lane from getting jumped on and from that tower being taken earlier on. So, you know, I do commend it.
As a selfish solo queue player, I would say Nichols, just leave your bot lane.
This is a team game, man. This is a team game.
They don't deserve your TP.
Oh, poor Kate. Poor Zil.
He does pick up Divine Sunderer versus the Scion, so that percentage health damage plus the heal going to be massive in that 1v1. Knack getting stunned up here. Tries to return fire.
Nice damage going back and forth. I love the hits over the wall by OP kill switch. Bean Chillin is in the wings, and here is Chihuahua as well. That Rift Herald still has not been taken down. Nick was able to make the move on it, and that means that BDE has to navigate away from this objective. Finally, we're going to see Elysium Blaze respond accordingly, and who manages to get it? It is Chihuahua that picks up that buff.
Yeah, Chihuahua does secure the Rift Herald here. Nichols gonna get knocked up, but I mean, that's in the Scion matchup. The number of trains they're doing, he's gonna make up that HP, no problem here. So that plate difference, though, is going to be helping out Control Alt Elite here. I think I would have preferred seeing a more defensive item against the Jax, but went with more of the hybrid with that Bombies there. So I don't like it because you're just going to lose to Jax anyway. You want to just stall out how much damage he can do, as we're 2 minutes away from the next dragon. And I have to say, 2 dragons to 0 despite the Caitlyn lane. That's going to put a lot of pressure to secure that third one. And that might end up being a team fight that Elysium does not want to take.
Yeah, that is vision that's already been placed here by BDE, so Elysium's going to have to go in and try to figure that out before the spawn. They do have a little bit of time here. The problem is there's so much pressure coming from BDE on this bottom side that there's really no opportunity for Elysium Blaze to say, hey, let's get vision on this dragon, and let's also save this tower. But there it is. Unfortunately, it's Jael that you have, who's just going to be able to shift right over the wall. A Mandolin will be jumped on once again, but likely will get out of there okay because that second bomb did not land. BDE staying alive with 4 members of Elysium Blaze in their lane.
A Mandolin just walks right out of there with the shield, though, and is able to escape a 4-man dive. This Karma is just proven to be so much value for the lane and as well the survivability. We said they had escape potential, and that's proving to be true here. This Talia, it's just not finding that much value, hasn't been able to find the roams, and now, I mean, is more of a pseudo control mage. It seems like it would have been better just to pick something like the Victor, the Syndra, something that just could do better in the team fights at this point, because this Talia has not activated at all at her strengths.
Yep. That solo laning phase, there's so much opportunity for her, and you know the LB is navigating it incredibly well. Nak has taken a lot of damage from OP's kill switch, but still has yet to fall to any of the ganks that have been provided here. We now see the Rift Herald going to come out in the mid lane, so that should be the first tower for Elysium, and first tower in general, because there's no stopping that, as Nak. And that provides finally some pressure for Elysium Blaze here towards the river. Battle Gnome maybe looking for an engage. There are 3 members. Nak's going to be the first one to jump in. So much damage onto Bean Chillin. That should be a solo. Out comes the ultimate, though, onto himself. Zilean staying alive through the Ezreal ult. The rest of BDE looking for the engage. They cannot find the solo members that they want. OP kill switch might be the one that they go for, but no initiation opportunity. However, Battle Gnome on the backside gets jumped on. Out comes the Tantrum. A nice blast cone to ensure that they stay away from the rest of the team. Elysium Blaze trying to pick up Nak. It's a lot of damage down. That might be too much. Nak has to flash away from the fight, and that is one member of BDE that cannot fight here.
All right, Nick Lowell's.
There it is. There's the engage coming through from Elysium Blaze. Now Nick Lowell's trying to take down Battle Gnome, but Control Ult Elite doing a good job of proxying the front line here. A Mandolin staying very healthy. JL on the opposite side, sitting along this blast cone. Control Ult Elite taking just way too much damage here. Is not going to be able to survive. Trying to provide some front line for the rest of the team to engage, and Nick Lowell takes too much damage. There it is, the Q from JL, going to find 1 kill. Control Ult Elite coming back after getting taken down. There is the passive, but OP kill switch has to flash out of here to get out alive. Battle Gnome able to jump over the wall. Can he get the lockdown onto OP kill switch? It is a 2-level difference kill switch has over Battle Gnome, but it's still not enough. Nak will be here to provide some assistance, and it is BDE finding themselves the ace and the 3rd dragon of the game.
All right, so they win the fight. They get the dragon. Now they're on dragon point as well. What more could you want from BDE here? It looks like they are well on their way to getting their first win of the series. For the side of Elysium Blaze, I mean, it looked like they just ran out of fuel in the tank. They didn't have enough HP to secure good position on the dragon. And then when they did, they went for that all in. They were out of mana. They were chunked out, and they just got re-engaged on. And JL, full HP the whole time, able to free fire, lay down that poke damage. Nak almost dying, however, is playing that LeBlanc, was able to find her way back into the fight and get some very needed kills on the back end. And now, I mean, for Elysium Blaze, it's hard to see an angle for them to win, because even though Nicholas is stronger than this Scion, has an item completed as well, just doesn't have enough time to threaten the base or put down any pressure. As you can see, he was the one that was pulled towards the dragon, and the Scion just way more effective in these team fights.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is, I would say, out of that team fight, what I'm most impressed with was the re-engage. From Control Alt Elite, he was incredibly low. He saw that he was getting pulled back into the fight and says, all right, you know what? I'm going to die, but I can provide here a front line for my team to layer down the insane amount of damage that they have on the back end. And if that continues to happen here for BDE, they will continue to find success in these team fights because Elysium Blaze was just too far split. They didn't really know where to engage. They didn't know exactly where JL was or whether or not he was going to come back over the wall, whether he had his shift available or was going to use that blast cone. So it was just really well done and a really good consideration of what was on the line from BDE. Elysium Blaze needs to understand that, and they need to find something else that they can grip right now because they're hanging on by their fingertips.
And they also can't afford to lose the Zillion ult so early. Being Chillin forced to use it. Nick Lols now in a 2v1.
And it's not a good looking one. He's doing a lot of damage here. He's going to be able to get the pop, though, and that will be an easy kill for Battle Gnome. A lot of the rest of the team also in the wings. They do not know how hard it's going to be to take down Nick Lols, but that's his second death now. And in the meantime, Knack says, all right,
nice
I've
dodge.
got an open bottom lane here. OP Kill Switch, you are not going to be able to recover much from this. Now OP Kill Switch has to walk towards the enemy lane, and at this point, it is not looking good for her. She has to ult out of there.
Yeah, just got out of there using the ultimate. A defensive Tilly ultimate, not a good look. Idris. All right, that's two. That's the Gale Force and the Zillion ultimate burned there from JL in one ultimate. What talk about value there?
Yeah, 50 caliber net already being used. You know what? I would definitely trade that one out. The Gale Force is a lot longer cooldown than it is for JL's ultimate to come back up, and he's been getting so much use out of it. Being Chillin has to flash out of this one. I'm surprised that they got out with their lives, flash and heal expended. So many resources utilized on the side of Elysium Blaze for really not much in return.
BDE, I don't think they are completely aware of this, but they could go for the Baron right now. There's not that much vision. They could clear it out, but look how much members are spread from Elysium Blaze. How many of them were forced to back? Their poke pressure is just too much at the moment. And not to mention Elysium Blaze, there is no one who could heal on their team. There is no enchanter that's going to be providing healing like a Soraka. So when they take poke, that damage is going to stick. And so when it comes to doing the Baron, they could probably stall the Baron with Scion, poke it out, and prevent the engage with the Scion as well. And just take a free Baron, or at least pick up some free kills. Now, that's some aggressive play that I would like to see on the map here from BDE.
I agree. And they've got the vision. I mean, just look at the map. Look at how much they have controlled here, the bottom side towards the top side. In fact, they've even got defensive vision there by the Raptor camp, which is saying a lot. That's just them being safe because that first tower has been taken down in the mid lane, and it's the only one to have fallen so far. And we can see that OP Killswitch, this is most of this game, the second half of this, has just been trying to run away from Knack, who has been chasing him all over the map. Now, Battle Gnome is going to help out. Control Alt Elite here. Out comes the Unstoppable Force, but it has to be canceled because Nick Lowell is able to hop away from that one. The TP coming through as well, and there is another ultimate coming out of Battle Gnome, but it's too much damage. Nick Lowell's will end up going down. The TP canceled. Chihuahua has to run away from here. Bean Chillin has the opportunity to use the ultimate. Down go. Two bombs. They each hit a separate target. Idris is here now in the fight, but will it be enough? Battle Gnome flashing forward, getting one kill. Bean Chillin is the next target. Battle Gnome will go down, but Amanda Lynn is in here now. Idris gets rooted down. That's a headshot coming through out of this Caitlyn, and it will be enough to pick up the double kill. Is Amanda Lynn going to be able to support this passive enough to pick up the kill? Yes, it's a double buff. Passed over to Karma.
All right, JL didn't even think about budging from the mid lane. That was entire team fight one without their AD carry.
He threw an ulti,
just to show how, it just shows how tanky their front line is right now. As Knack wasn't even there either. Did cancel that TP from Talia, I believe. So that was a huge play. And look at this. They set themselves up nicely for the final Dragon take. Going to be able to get that soul. Ocean Soul on this Vi Scion. They were tough to kill before. I mean, even Karma. Imagine how tough it's going to be once they pick this up. All right, they're going to pull out everything from the side of Elysium Blaze to secure this Dragon. Are they going to make it?
Knack sitting right there proxying
this stalling
bush.
time. Don't go
now
for it.
just playing with their food. This is just so rude. Knack knows that he can just distract all of the team from being able to move on this dragon, and it did stop that dragon take from coming through. Nick Lowell's going in for Knack. Maybe has finally been spotted out, but gets rooted down. Idris using the 50 caliber net. There's the flash forward and the jump over the wall. Knack manages to get out yet again, and all the while distracting 4 members of Elysium Blaze.
Well, they didn't really do anything with it, so I'm going to have to call out the rest of the team. Knack,
Yeah.
how much time did you waste and your team didn't do anything with it? Now we just have a straight-up dragon fight.
Yep, you needed that to take that dragon during that time. Nick Lowles is on the front side here. Control Alt Elite is taking just too much damage. JL just used the ultimate. There's not enough coming through. JL is going to be able to take down Bean Chillin. Out comes the ultimate onto himself once again. Control Alt Elite finding out Idris. They're able to keep most of their members alive as the respawn comes through, or at least the passive from this Scion. And now Nick Lowles has to try to get the heck out of dodge, but it's too little too late. At least that dragon was not stacked to a soul.
Oh, you activated Lamb's keyword, this very famous town of Dodge. They're going to go ahead and move right over to Baron here. Their just reward for winning that team fight. Chihuahua was able to outsmite Battle Gnome in the pit there. So they don't get the soul, but they're going to have to pick up this Baron, and they're not going to complain about it. Team fight win plus the Baron, that's a good enough win for them. They can use this to close out the game, pick up more of those turrets, and roll that very nicely in to the very final dragon. This time, I hope. Knack just being a menace on the side lane again.
Yeah, missed an ability or two there, so likely would have taken down OP kill switch. They get out alive, but again, the whole purpose of Knack has not been to find out these solo kills. It's been to scare the enemy team into running away, not realizing that the rest of BDE is collecting everything that they need to around the map. So they find themselves that Baron, and now that gold lead has managed to increase a considerable amount, and we're really looking at things being dire here for Elysium Blaze.
Yeah, Elysium Blaze. They're on their last rungs of the ladder. And there's not that much room here for them to play. They have maybe one mistake left or two. Take it, just take a little bit, plus or minus there. They have Nick Lowles, who's now 1 in 4. And with that Frozen Heart completed from Control Elite, I like it. It's going to make it much more difficult for Nick Lowles to kill off the Scion in the side lane. And despite that, Scion is not really, Scion at least, is not really an auto attacker, so can fight back against the Jax here. Looks like a team fight being set up mid, Chihuahua on the flank.
There it is, JL dealing a lot of damage here. Chihuahua should be able to get out A-OK, though. There comes the ultimate once again from JL. Nice short cooldown on that, just trying to throw out some Mystic shots and get as much damage as possible onto the enemy team. And in the meantime, it is still Control Alt Elite taking down Nick Lowles, or at least pressuring him back, meaning that effort for Elysium Blaze has gone to no avail on the bottom side. That means that maybe they're going to try to separate their efforts out here, focusing back on the bottom. It is still 2 members now. Here's Battle Gnome makes their way down in. They're not able to get this tower. Control Alt Elite is actually going to fall here. Maybe capable of taking the tower thanks to that passive, and that will be the case. So blue turret has gone down. Battle Gnome is still alive, and the pressure coming through from the mid lane is there as BDE gets their bonus from the Baron.
All right, they're utilizing the Baron to pick up these outer turrets. There's only one tier 2 left. Shouldn't stand much longer. Should be able to be easily secured by the side of BDE. 8k, 7k gold lead, on the board here. So they have a lot of strength that they can flex right now. And that Ezreal, 3 items completed. Just a complete item over Idris here. Is the richest member on the field with that nice 12k and 9.5k by Idris here. So that is a huge lead. And look how fearless JL is on this Ezreal. Isn't scared to Arcane Shift in and land a few Qs, despite the fact that that probably would have got him killed right there.
He's had 3 items as well since before the last team fight. So he has had a huge up on this Caitlyn, who, again, we have to consider, ended up going with the Gale Force route and has had to use that Gale Force pretty much every time in a defensive manner instead of being able to pop forward as you would want to with that one. So a lot more use coming through from the items on the side of BDE. And not only is JL completely fearless here, Knack has been fearless as well. Again, I mean, running through the entire team. So the split that BDE has found on these engages, being able to pick off a bunch of damage and then decide when they want to fully engage on the team, it's meant that Elysium Blaze has completely had to play reactively, and that is not what they want to do with their composition.
Yeah, they have to get on objectives, bait them in, and have a nice engage off the Amumu. Okay, kill switch has a nice trade, but that is going to be Seraph's popped. Has to get out of there. And now 30 seconds away from Dragon. Talia is going to be able to make it with the ultimate, but they're losing side lane control again. And now Knack find a flank. However, they spotted out.
Spotted out, but
we're
can
gonna do
they
this
be
game
caught? We've already seen this playthrough one time. We saw 4 members of Elysium Blaze chasing down this Knack, and it was not successful. Knack has been able to escape with very little health multiple times, so you can't fall for that again. It really, at the end of the day, is just a distraction to try to get Elysium Blaze not focused on where the rest of BDE is. Good job by them this time to say, okay, we're not falling for it. We're not going in on that one again, Knack. We've learned our lesson.
Oh, wait a minute. They found Control Elite.
That's the one that they need to focus out early on. Battle Gnome is going to get jumped on. There comes the Tantrum. It's a lot of damage, but Battle Gnome is able to sustain a whole lot themselves. They go in with the ultimate. There is the ultimate as well from JL. It's a lot of damage as Knack now comes through from the backside. OP Killswitch takes out Control Alt Elite. Here comes the passive, though. Nick Lowell's trying to find a target here. Is going to be able to, but a flash away from Knack means that they stay alive at 1 health once again. And now it's a re-engage. JL trying to take down Idris. Is able to get enough damage off. It's a lot more in response to a Mandolin who's going to be able to survive through the bomb, and only 1 member of BDE fell that entire fight.
I'm gonna have to give a little bit of credit to Elysium there. I mean, how many of them were low health on the side of BDE? That team fight was a lot closer than expected. If they had just a slightly better gold differential here, they might have been able to turn that one around. Despite that, though, this gold lead coming in full swing for the side of BEDE. They barely survived that team fight. They secure their Dragon Soul well on their way to victory here. They're just really got to march down these turrets. Ezreal got to finish his toast before they go ahead and pick up this Baron here, and that should be the game. So far, just completely dominated and controlled by the side of BDE, and they just won every single team fight.
Yep, they've won every team fight. They've had way better vision. They've also had just better control over the map. And it kind of feels like in the latter half of this game, Elysium Blaze has forgotten that it is not just Sion that is tanky. You have a tanky Vi here as well. Yes, she's going to be providing a lot of damage, but she's able to absorb a lot on the front end. And it feels like they get this Sion down really low, and they're like, cool, that's it. The front line's down. We can send in Chihuahua, and we're okay. As though they've forgotten about Battle Gnome and also the bursty damage that's coming in from JL, from Knack, who's always there somewhere. So if they keep losing eyes on one of those members, like they continue to do, it's not going to spell good things. And now Nick is caught between a rock and a hard place, and that is all 5 members of BDE as they move down. Bean chillin', once again having to use the ultimate on himself. It's not actually going to pop this time. Control Alt Elite is going to take down the 1. They get the pop on 2 underneath the tower. Out comes the Tantrum for Chihuahua, but JL gets legendary thanks to the shift and the double proc on his auto. They're still taking tower shots, but it doesn't matter. They have the sustainability and they have the damage necessary. OP kill shot just trying to get some damage over the wall, but it does not matter here, and that means that once again BDE gets a free Baron.
That is FREE. There's going to be no contest. As again, I mean, Nick Lowell gets caught out right at the beginning. Absolutely deleted. Been chilling. Again, has to use the Zillion ult on himself. It's a complete waste. And, I mean, team fights were tough before. It's going to be a lot tougher right after those 2 plays. So now with this Baron, with the Dragon Soul, I'm looking for a speedy cleanup on this game from the side of BDE. If they can't pull that off, maybe Elysium has a better chance picking more scaling in the next game.
Yeah, more scaling and maybe more of a fallback, you know, not so much of a necessary win condition to happen kind of early in the game. They need to be able to say, okay, hey, we have at least a quicker jungle clear, maybe something a little bit more consistent in terms of how we can engage on some of these really sticky champions, because Chihuahua has tried so hard, but every time we see the Tantrum come out, it has unfortunately been on Control Alt Elite, or it has been on Battle Gnome. It hasn't been on who he wants to nail it down to, like JL or Knack. So Elysium Blaze, they're not giving up yet. The game's not over just this minute, and you're totally right, Cribs. BDE needs to close this game out real soon. I mean, the more time that goes on, the more opportunities they're giving to Elysium Blaze, and the longer they're going to have to expect for these respawn timers to go. As a teleport now comes through, Nick Lowell's going to avoid a lot of damage, but it doesn't matter. In comes Battle Gnome. Battle Gnome doesn't even get the chance to get the assist on that one because the kill comes through too quickly. Knack once again. Now, playing with 3 members here. He does get double bombed. Idris is alone, able to pock up some damage, but that was 3 shots. I don't know if that included a headshot. That was almost no damage onto a Mandolin, unfortunately, coming out of that Caitlyn.
Yeah, Karma is pretty tanky, especially with this Dragon Soul here. All right, Chihuahua on the engage. Do they have an angle?
that's not the Taliyah ult they wanted. Unfortunately, Bean chilling not in the right place. Chihuahua having to flash away from this one. There it is, the ultimate. Once again, Chrono Keeper used on Bean chilling himself. That means that the rest of the team is not going to have it as an opportunity. The double bomb doesn't hit. Control Delete can absorb all of this damage, and these Baron-empowered minions are moving in. Out comes the Unstoppable Force as these towers are just shredded down, and this is absolutely the end of the game. BDE can pad their stats if they want to, and it looks like they do towards Chihuahua, who will not end up going down. Taking enough for the team, but BDE, all 5 members, ends up taking game 1 in 35 minutes.
BDE absolute slaughter in the first game of this series. They played through that bottom lane. Karma Ezreal completely controlling that lane into a 2-dragon snowball with the help of Knack Knack and Battle Gnome, of course. They're able to make some visits that were very impactful on that bot side there. And now with the Scion, it looks like they have a pretty solid strat of winning these games here. Didn't look like much of a contest from Elysium. They had one team fight where they could have theoretically won it if they had more gold. But, I mean, just completely getting outplayed on the bot side. I don't think we're going to see a Caitlyn Zillion for the rest of these series here.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever want to see that, really, at least until something gets buffed or patched or adjusted here, because unfortunately really didn't provide anything towards what would have been good against that Ezreal Karma. And the Karma pickup early on by BDE to not only take that away from the Caitlyn, but to just secure it for their own team was a really, really smart call. So I do think something needs to change in terms of, our cohesion and these picks, right? I think that was something that we talked about before the game started, right? Crims, you're like, I don't really necessarily like either of these compositions, but we're going to see which one has more cohesion. And it wasn't even about the cohesion for Elysium Blaze. It was about them excelling at what they do best. The LeBlanc peeling off and finding those little engages to, dissuade the enemy team from moving in on an objective. And then also the vibe being kind of like that hidden tank that really Elysium Blaze just wasn't expecting. So I liked what I saw out of both of these teams, but if Elysium Blaze doesn't figure something out and how to sort of counter the late game opportunities that BDE are creating for themselves, this might be a 2-0 sweep, and I really don't want to see that.
Yeah, we really want to see some adaptability here from Elysium Blaze. I think we're talking about mid-game, maybe a control mage, maybe not something that needs to execute on the map like the Taliyah Nick having that counter matchup. I mean, Scion can do pretty good early into Jax, but that's not how it played out. The Jax lane was winning very hard from the beginning. I think should have just stayed up on that island, get himself more powered up, don't help the team. Bot was a lost cause, in my opinion. Do not think, that Caitlyn Zillion lane was going nowhere. And I think that was the biggest problem on the map. This is a bot lane focused meta. Why are you picking a scaling enchanter with a hard lane winning AD carry?
It was early,
What
too.
Is the synergy there? What is the
They
synergy?
weren't even forced into the Zillion. The Zillion was like 3rd pick or 2nd pick. Like, Caitlyn was 1st pick, and then they locked in Zillion. And for me, that's like, okay, maybe they're doing a bit of flexing, right? Maybe their mid laner plays a lot of Zillion. And no, there was no subtlety about it at all. So I think if you are going to pick that, it's because your back's against a wall. You do not pick a Caitlyn Zillion into somebody already having locked in a Karma in general. I just don't suggest it, no matter who the ADC is. And you're right, it's a bot lane meta. There are so many strong picks right now. There have been so many buffs, so many adjustments to that bottom lane that, like I said, I was expecting, the Enchantress side of things, but there are still opportunities for, taking out things like the Nautilus, right? If you want to try to get a bit more damage onto the jungler. So maybe something along those lines. The Amumu was good, and I know that Chihuahua has played a lot of this Amumu, but I don't necessarily want to see it in this game either. I want to see really coming out of Elysium Blaze, I want to see kind of a complete mix-up on what their win con is, on where they are kind of placing their picks.
Yeah, I think the Ashe pick, Caitlyn Ashe makes a lot more sense there.
Yeah.
Could have went with that one. Has a lot of pick potential that combos well with the Caitlyn. And they could have slapped Zillion in the mid lane. It's a LeBlanc early phase is going to be terrible, but it's LeBlanc, you're going to outscale her. So I think that if we're talking for Elysium Blaze, what they got to do, it's the draft. What were you guys drafting for? What was the game plan?
Yep.
It didn't make sense to us up here on the desk. So if Elysium Blaze, if you're listening in, that is our advice to you, as I think we're just going to throw it up for a quick break and get into draft for game number 2. All right, and welcome back from that little extended break here. We have BDE versus Elysium Blaze. Now they're swapping sides here, Jolly. BDE on the blue side after a dominating first game victory here. And now, what are you expecting to have a little bit of a turnaround for Elysium Blaze?
Counter picks. I want to see not early. The Caitlyn's good, right? Caitlyn's good early on. She's very strong. But if you're going to pick bottom lane early on, I would like to see more cohesion, and I would like to see maybe a little bit of counter ability in terms of the other lanes, right? I mean, we had that Jax do a good job, right? And that was the final pick for Elysium Blaze. But I need to see. I mean, we talked about it before the break. I just need to see some cohesion. I need to see an apparent win condition that not only exists, but also has a bit of a fallback in case something doesn't go exactly right.
Yeah, I think that, as soon as bot lane was starting to lose, it just devolved from there. So something a little more solid, I agree, would be the play here. BDE, something for them to change up is a bit of an interesting topic because they won game one so handedly,
Yep.
right? They won it so effectively that we're gonna be like, wait, they shouldn't make any changes. And well, I think that's something that they probably could have done is that Scion lane. The beginning laning phase was actually very, very terrible. Now, it turned out to be amazing later, right? When Nick Lowell started going down bot side, Scion picked up a lot of gold and then was very effective in the team fights. But maybe we could pick a champion that will do better in the lane phase versus something like a Jax and not give as much of an opportunity for Nick Lowell to carry a game.
Yeah, I do like that. All right, let's head into draft. Let's see what they decide to do because, while the Scion lane phase didn't go well, it provided exactly what was necessary because there were no kills picked up by Nick Lowell early on. If Nick Lowell had gotten a couple kills and really oppressed that Scion, I would say absolutely. But because the Scion didn't die, it still went pretty well, and he wasn't behind too far in CS. All right, so I need to know, do you know what is going on with this first pick for BDE?
You
or
mean
the first ban, sorry.
This first ban? No, I did ask production for a reason. We might suspect here that it's a glitch. It's just not showing. So they might actually have 3 bans. We just aren't going to be able to see it, I guess, as we have Swain and Maokai being taken out. Maokai, solid ban. Rek'Sai, of course, is also a solid ban.
Okay, wait. We might have a sub
situation. Yeah, I think we might have a sub situation going on here. As I'm just going to go ahead and take a look. It's the same team as last time, and I think that was their static starting roster. Oh, guess what? Gets through the Lulu, and it's snapped up right away for BDE.
Yeah, Lulu is a good one. Lulu was one of the first bans, actually, for Elysium Blaze. That was their 3rd ban. And as we can see, it has been swapped out in a respect ban against the Vi. So that's not something that they want Gnome Dweller to have, or Battle Gnome to have here. And so that also means that first pick Elysium Blaze is once again going to go with an ADC, but this time it makes more sense with at least what the team comp was in the last game in picking this Zeri.
Okay, so everyone knows about the Zeri Lulu, including Elysium Blaze, which is why they go ahead and they're going to steal away that combo. Not to mention Zeri saps shields, so this is going to be negating a little bit of what Lulu does here. So I like that as a snap pick. They're going to take it away. And Zeri Soraka is also not a bad lane, especially into this Lulu here. So now BDE, in terms of draft, they're going to have to catch up somewhere on this draft so far. And
we do have the update on that ban, and the reason that it was missing from the last game as well. It looks like they lost a ban because of a weekly game requirement. They didn't meet that weekly game requirement, so they only have 2 bans. It didn't affect them in the last game though. So we'll have to see if this is their last game or if we can see a game number 3 between these 2 teams where Elysium Blaze has them only pick 2 more. There is the lock-in for the bottom lane duo. It's a Tristana along with that Lulu. So once again, a lot of mobility coming through from BDE and reinforcing that with the Elise.
Tristana is also a flex pick as well. Can go ahead and AD carry from the mid lane. And I'm going to give you some information here, Jolly. That Elise pick is making that a lot more likely. If you want to play Elise, something to give your jungler a boost is to play all AD champions, so Elise has maximum damage. Or if they build MR, they're going to be getting a better beatdown from a Tristana plus AD carry and or AD top lane here. So it looks like BDE, they've set themselves up for a very nice Tristana mid. If they want to go that way, they of course have a flex pick for a reason here. Bans coming in, Shen versus the Camille. Shen is a counter, so that's a very smart ban right off the bat.
Yeah, and you know what? If they do end up putting that Tristana in the mid lane, we actually know from the past that JL likes to play the Xayah with the Lulu. So that is also a possibility. That has been picked up several times in their previous matches. The Shen being taken away, the Amumu, all right, there's BDE, at least offering a tip of their hat to say, okay, that's not something that we necessarily want to deal with. That aggressive engage is something that can absolutely lock down the 3 members that they have selected here so far, and isn't something that they want to handle. The Cho'Gath, once again, going to be banned here by Elysium Blaze, another good pick into that Camille. The Shen is probably my favorite as of right now, though, in terms of a counter to that. I still like the Aatrox as well.
Yeah, Aatrox is very strong on the top side. If you're a 369 enjoyer, you're probably also an Aatrox enjoyer for obvious reasons here. Zig's going to be taken away. Very safe laner. Can potentially negate this Tristana. So it looks like they're putting some extra setup into this Tristana mid here. As, I mean, without this Cho'Gath and Shen counter for the Camille, they could go something scaling like the Scion. Gnar into Camille, it's kind of like Gnar into Irelia. Any champion who can get on Gnar and prevent him from getting away in that non-mega form, in the mini form, is really bad. So don't want to do that. But Gnar does have points where he wins, but he also has points where he loses.
It used to be a pretty basic pick into Camille was Gnar, but I would say Gnar's not as strong as he used to be right now.
Yeah,
I would say even things running like the Olaf, things like that, right, are things that should be considered here. The Mundo, there's another one, right?
Okay.
You have that ability to withstand things and also to prevent a little bit of the crowd control, so that's where that Olaf Mundo was kind of coming into my mind. I do like the Wukong pick as well. Very, very aggressive, especially compared to the last team composition that Elysium Blaze had locked in. This is far more aggro, and it's already just right off the bat got more cohesion.
Yeah, they have what makes to be a team fighting comp here, with Elise trying to provide early game prowess. Mundo, of course, scaling champion. Tristana, just all around strong champion right now. They do say we're not going to do Tristana in the mid lane. Orianna going to be picked up here, but that's going to go ahead and give them a very strong boost in that team fight. Look at these champions. They have the Mundo in the front line. They have Tristana for damage with the Lulu peeling. Orianna, mega team fighter with her shockwave here. On the other side of Elysium, they do have the same tools. It's going to take a bit longer for them to get online. Zeri, Soraka, and Wukong need a bit of scale. And then a Zac here. I think this is going to be Zac mid. So this is something we haven't seen in quite some time. There was rumors at the beginning of the season. Zac mid, Caps playing Zac mid, and he did do it. And now we have our own Zac mid in Titan Esports.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I like to see the Zac mid into something like the Orianna, right? It is still, following up with what you just said, though, a slower start. That just reinforces a bit of a slower start from Elysium Blaze. They have more of an opportunity than the last game with this Wukong to be able to find some quick clears and then hopefully engage on a lane. Having that clone gives you more of a chance to get a really solid gank in, probably particularly focusing on this mid lane, especially if it is a Zac there. Even at least popping his passive is going to be really helpful for the Orianna moving forward. But I like it. I am so much happier. I don't know about you, Crims, but I'm happier with, in particular, Elysium Blazes. But I like both of these compositions, to be honest. I think that we're going to have another good one, and I think it's going to be another, 35-minute game.
Going to have ourselves a banger, 45-minute banger here. I think Elysium Blaze have the step up, though, in the draft overall. I think the Zeri Soraka does well into the Lulu, and Soraka into Tristana. is actually a very good matchup because she has that silence, and that's going to be able to prevent her from rocket jumping away if there's any CC layered upon it. So Camille, Wukong, Zac, they all have something that can stop Tristana while she's in that silence and ensuring that snare there. Camille also has the Hextech Ultimatum, going to prevent Tristana from getting away. And if we look at BDE's comp, they're a 2 damage source primary comp. They have the Tristana and they have the Orianna. Of course, Elise does do damage, but she's not going to be able to match the same level damage Tristana Orianna here. So in terms of Elysium Blaze, they have ways to lock down these carries from this Camille, Wukong, Zac dive. And with the silence as well, that's going to be a lot of opportunities for them to be stuck in CC and shut down and lights out for BDE. So I like Elysium Blaze's comp here. I think they have a lot of tools. They need time. That's their one weakness, and Elise can capitalize on that. But other than that, I think their comp, this is a very excellent draft from Elysium.
Yeah. And especially if we're considering the last draft that we saw where it really was, the only way that they're going to be able to execute this properly is if they find a very early lead. And they just weren't able to do that. I talked about how I wanted to see an invade, and we saw them kind of poke their faces. They didn't even move as a 5-man unit, right? They did the 5 split and then kind of poked around in each area to get vision, but it wasn't enough to actually help lead them into the following stages. Another thing I want to see from Elysium this time is because they have the potential to be more aggressive, I need more vision. I need a better vision coverage. I need also to see more removal because BDE had so much vision from minute number 1 that it made it really difficult for them to collapse, or for Elysium Blaze to collapse any of the roamers. And that roaming started happening pretty quickly after the game began.
Yeah, the BDE was just taking free kills on the side lane. Nick Lowles, as well as Talia there in the mid lane from BDE. So I think that in terms of vision, it's going to be a lot easier if they have a better start to this game. Could actually just be completely blown up like game number 1. But I think with something solid like Azeri Soraka, they're going to be a lot safer here. Hopefully, though, they don't give up 3 dragons in a row, and I'm feeling more confident that won't be the case this time around, Jolly.
Yeah, the dragons, and then also they were able to get one of those Rift Heralds, so that meant that Elysium Blaze got first tower in the last game,
That's
so that
true.
gave them a
They did
little
that.
bit of a bump back, and it was the mid lane tower, so it provided them a bit of that pressure so they could kind of focus a bit more on the objectives. But unfortunately, they didn't prepare properly for the objectives. Whereas way in advance, BDE was coming through and layering down wards and trying to get pressure in lanes. So maybe a bit more of the proactive play, right? There was something that I said towards the end of the last game is it got to the point where no matter what they did, they were completely playing reactively. And that's okay for certain compositions, but absolutely not for the one that they were running. So if we can see some more of that proactive play, some more of them setting up their own fights instead of responding to what BDE is trying to program around the map, I think that things can look really good for Elysium Blaze, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we get to a game number 3 in this best of 3.
Something I do want to point out, Battle Gnome in game number 1 had a very difficult time affecting the map early. I mean, those ganks mid lane completely ineffectual. So playing the Elise now on a similar style, similar look, but is not going to have that similar mid-game mid-game effectiveness that a Vi has, where you can just lock down your target for a teammate. You have to do a lot more work yourself on this Elise here. So Battle Gnome, I'm looking at you. Your game 1 didn't show it, but if you have an early gank style, you should definitely bring it out here on this Elise, especially into this Wukong, who needs more time.
For sure. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. We are going to take one more quick break before heading into game number 2, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more BDE versus Elysium Blaze. And we are in it. Game number 2 in this best of 3 between Elysium Blaze and BDE Basement Dwellers. And okay, there's no way that I've been fooled twice in a row. Elysium Blaze is on the blue again. No, that's got to be flipped, right? That's got to be flipped.
They flipped it. They did a flip around here. Control Alt Elite. Now getting some poke down. JL walking straight up into 3 red teams members here. Okay, JL. It seems that your confidence from game number 1 has completely followed through into game number 2 here. We'll see if that's your downfall or your boon as we have the game starting up. Being chillin'. Good old ice cream here. Just going to walk straight into the bot lane. No leash again for both these teams here. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this Zac play. Oh, kill switch. He wants some info.
We got some leashes. We got it.
Yeah, we do. We got a leash.
Baby Camille leash, you know. Ooh, and good spotting out. A vision ward right there as well. So, hey, so far what I have wanted from Elysium Blaze, both things that I requested in the last game is, you know, that heavy engaged start or really aggressive start, and then also throwing some extra vision down. That they have come through with both of those. I'm feeling pretty happy.
They do have that vision knowledge.
Nothing unheard of course, those... That gaming, that's it. You get the smack and then you pick up the blobs. That's how you do it. And it's going pretty well. Of course, Knack does have, you know, solid autos, right? That's always the thing about Orianna that you got to watch out for, is those autos do really spike up. And already we've got a little bit of an appearance from the Spider Lady herself. And in the meantime, Chihuahua has found himself here in the mid lane. There's that clone that I was talking about. It's a lot of damage onto Knack. Knack still has the flash, but isn't going to use it. Meanwhile, in the bottom side, it's a nice stun, that net coming out of Battle Gnome. But it's going to be a reverse Battle Gnome, the first one to go down. There's the jump away from Jael. Are they going to be able to pick up the kill? There's the ignite as well onto Idris. And it is... That's where it's ending. Oh, that's where it's ending. Wookie, though. Wukong, he's waiting. Chihuahua goes back in, and Idris takes down JL. Already such a better start here for Elysium Blaze, and look how low Idris was. Totally nonchalant about it. Yep. Yep. Not a good place for BDE moving forward here. They were able to at least, you know, kind of recover. There was that one kill that they had for themselves. Now Battle Gnome is going to try to make an impact here, but it's a quick jump away from Elysium Blaze. So we try to fix this. You get to see the game from you get to actually see the game, huh? I'm watching this view, and I see myself. So
special.
Hey, there we go. We're back. Oh, now you're on my screen.
Hey,
there
you don't get to see the stats. I'm the stats. All right, it's me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I don't need to know them. You get to fill us all in. Ooh, almost landing that silence in the root onto Amanda Lynn. JL was able to pop off a little bit of damage, but man, Elysium Blaze's bottom lane is absolutely killing it. And again, you know what? I keep comparing it to the last game because that's my frame of reference here. But it just feels like such a more confident team.
You know, I think sometimes it's about the picks, sometimes it's about the team play. And it's looking like in this game, it was about the picks because they're just off to the races here. Elysium, they're just feeling confident also. They just got they got a pep talk by the coach or something.